Thank you guys. Real pleasure to be here. I see many, many good people. And, you know, to quote Rosheider and Jaws, we're going to need a bigger boat, right? So, I mean, but it's a testament. I was talking to Danny yesterday, Representative Danny Alvarez, that this is such an exciting time for folks, a very emotional time with the change that's happened in Venezuela and God willing, the change that we're going to be seeing in Cuba. It's a very, very emotional time for folks. And there's some people I just wanted to recognize who are here. Of course, we're going to be hearing from. We're honored to have here our Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. Let's give him a round of applause. We're honored to have here our state representative, and to call him Cuban American is quite, it's like calling the Pope Catholic. Danny Alvarez. We're honored to have here our Assistant Executive Director of Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, Colonel DJ Reyes, who's here. I wanted to acknowledge a number of other people who are here. Of course, we have here former Mayor Bob Buckmore. Let's give him a round of applause. A man who, and you want to speak, we'd love to have you. Oh, man. So I'll say this, by the way, this man is Irish Catholic, but this man flew planes for Brothers to the Rescue. This guy's more Cuban than I am, okay? I wasn't saying, so thank you, Mayor, for coming. We appreciate you very much. I wanted to also recognize the family of the late Luis Campuzano, who's here. I know we have a Luis family. Tilly, everybody, good to see you guys here. God bless you. Hace como 2 años, right? About 2 years ago, and Luis.
3 years.
Okay, 3 years ago, and Luis was a very proud Bay of Pigs veteran. He was a proud United States Navy veteran, and I was there the day he became an American citizen. Yeah, I remember that well. So we remember and love Luis very much. I wanted to recognize, we're going to be hearing from him as well, El Jefe Roberto Pizano. Good to see you. I wanted to also recognize my good friend we're honored to have here today, a man who means a lot to us here. He is the very proud father of the late Corporal Frank Gross, who gave all on July 16th of 2011. Gold Star father Craig Gross. Love you. I see here Luis with the office of Senator Rick Scott. Good to see you, buddy. And I see here Tanya Fernandez with the Office of United States Congresswoman Kathy Castor. Good to see you, ma'am, as always. And any other elected official offices. Okay, just making sure. And by the way, a lot of other people here we could recognize. My good friend Jake Cohan, Tony Waterholm, Colonel Jim Fletcher with the Veterans Treatment Corps, many, many people, Marilyn Alvarez with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, many, many different folks here. But first, I wanted to welcome up, let me just say something before, if I may. You know, and by the way, it's funny, we're going to be honoring him, but let's give a hell of a round of applause for our Cuban American hero, Colonel Orlando Rodriguez. We love him dearly. Colonel Orlando Rodriguez, as you all know, is a very proud, and we'll have some folks here talking about him, a very proud Bay of Pigs veteran, United States Special Forces, a man who fought in Vietnam, Purple Heart, decorated his all, and is a very proud Cuban American patriot. He's one of our heroes, not just Cuban American, but just American heroes. So this is a day that's very special to us. 65 years ago, the great heroes, the great men of Brigade 2506 stormed Cuba to try to liberate it from communism and from Fidel Castro, something that's been in Cuba for well over 6 decades now, that God willing will be ending very, very soon. We all hope and pray. It's a legacy that for those of us who grew up with it, because I know I did, for me, the number 2506 was something that I always grew up with. For me, Brigade 2506 folks, they were like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. They're the kind of people that you grew up with, and they are our celebrities, they're our heroes. So when I came across Colonel Orlando Rodriguez, I was dumbfounded and I was amazed. Again, it's like meeting just one of those great people that you hear about. So he means so much to us. This today is not about politics. It's not about left or right. It's about her blood and then sangre, and it's about her values. And that's what it's about. It's about a journey that so many of our families have taken that, God willing, we're going to be seeing and right as it should. So I wanted to first welcome up a man that we are honored to have here today. He's our lieutenant governor. Before that, he served as our state senator. Many of us know Jay Collins. He is a man who previously was in the United States Army, a Purple Heart recipient, and an amputee who lost his leg in Afghanistan and would requalify for Special Forces after that. The man is remarkable. They call him the Chuck Norris of Florida. And so please welcome our Lieutenant Governor, Jay Collins.
Councilman Vieira, Lewis, thank you. Love you, appreciate who you are. And I love the fact that he started off with this. It is not about politics. It is about people. It is about leadership. It is about what's right and what's wrong. You know, I am honored to be the 21st Lieutenant Governor of Florida. You know, I remember where I came from. I grew up on welfare. I was adopted, born to a drug addict 16-year-old. And in America and in Florida, somebody like me can be here today as the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Florida. The American dream is real. Freedom matters. It stands for something. So to have that as a backdrop and to talk about the 65th anniversary of the Bay of Pigs, let me talk a little bit about Orlando and Felix and so many of the members from the 2506 Brigade. You know them as heroes from the community. We all know them as that. But they also helped create the special forces I grew up in. They were people who helped teach us and gave us doctrine and education. Many of them spoke at our graduations and taught us how we do our job. Not only did they fight for freedom in Cuba, they came here and ensured that we as American citizens don't take for granted how precious leadership is, how precious freedom is, and that the true price of liberty takes involvement. It takes courage, and often it's paid in blood. Sir, thank you for your courage. We all look up to you. We all appreciate who you are, what you've done both in Cuba, in fighting for freedom, and across our time in the military. And then for me personally, as a member of my brigade, as a member of my regiment, the Fuerzas de Especialistas, the Green Berets, it matters. Thank you, brother. I want to close with this. Friends, my favorite president by far was Ronald Reagan. He was often called the great communicator. But you know, he refuted that. He said that he communicated great things. Today, let's take this moment, this snapshot, to honor the anniversary of the Bay of Pigs. Let's honor the courage and commitment of the people who still fight. And Patria Vida, I hope and pray that there is freedom in Cuba and there is a regime change, and I do believe it will happen. But let's take a moment to understand how precious what we have in America is and how fragile it can be. Remember, our nation was birthed and built on blood in places like Yorktown. It was defended in New Orleans. It was defended in places like Antietam and Little Round Top, where our nation was torn apart at the threads. It was there among the poppies of Flanders Field, at cliffs of Pointe du Hoc, frozen in the Chosin, the rice paddies of Vietnam, the mountains of Afghanistan, the deserts of Iraq, but where it matters the most is here today. Liberty, freedom is never free. Never forget the true cost. Never forget our heritage, because as my good friend Lewis said, this isn't about politics. It's about people, our communities, our state. God bless you, God bless Florida, and God bless these United States.
Thank you very much for that, Lieutenant Governor. We appreciate that. Our next speaker is going to be a man who all of us know here. I've been friends with State Representative Danny Alvarez for 15 years or so, something like that. We go back, and I've always loved Danny. I've cheered him on. I've always been so proud of him as he's advanced politically. He's a good person. He's a good family man. And so please welcome a very proud Cuban American State Representative Danny Alvarez.
Well, here we are, 65. As I look out into the crowd, I feel like I'm looking at Tampa history right now. It is incredible to see everybody here. It is incredible because I feel like I'm becoming one of them. Like, remember when we first started in this business, you're like, oh, those guys up there, they're so old. And you're like, what? What's in this beer? So Louis talked about like, he and I knew each other. He and I knew each other way before politics. You know what we bonded over? Family. Like he was going through hard times, I was going through hard times, and I remember why I fell in love with Lewis and his family is because his story was similar to mine, but he was choosing his family over fighting. He was choosing his family over chaos. He was choosing his family over everything. I said, man, where did you learn that? And where he learned it was this joint heritage that we've got, right? And so he may be on the other side of the aisle, but I've never seen that. You know, he is more than likely going to join me as a colleague in the House of Representatives, and I cannot explain to you how proud I am and how proud you should be that a son of Tampa, a true son of Tampa, is coming to represent the city of Tampa. So how about a round of applause for As I continue to look out, I do see some of the people that I've looked up to in my life. Another Democrat that I don't, yeah, we would call him the mayor, but like in Cuban terms, the way we would say it is Bojon, right? And so he has his honorary degree in Cubanism, right? Because I'm not sure where like the Irish guy stops and the Cuban guy begins, or vice versa. But we were very fortunate to have had him lead formally as the mayor. But what's incredible is that since he left, he never abandoned our heritage. He never abandoned our people, and I want to thank you for doing that. Thank you for always doing that. I want to recognize Jay, the Lieutenant Governor. He was my battle buddy, and if you're an Army guy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You don't go out without someone to your right or your left. And when we campaigned together, we got elected together. Then we went to the House and the Senate, and we fought together. Florida is better because we have Jay Collins. And I want to make sure we thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. As a son of Cubans, today is an extremely important thing, right? Because it talks about the audacity of not only the human spirit, but of the Cuban soul, right? If you grew up in a Cuban household, it was rice and beans and the Bill of Rights. It was platanitos and, la libertad. And, if your grandfather was my grandfather, commies ain't cool. Commies ain't cool, right? It was ingrained in our spirit. And it was ingrained because it was a reality that we didn't have to imagine, right? Like, I'm an American kid. I was born to Cuban parents. Like, for me, the struggle is like on paper. But for our parents and our grandparents, the struggle was real. The fight was real. Imagine, just for a second, just put yourself here. You just lost everything. They told you, oh, you'll be back soon. You just lost everything. And someone comes up to you. You're 18, you're 17, 19. And they're like, hey, we lost everything. But if I can get some dudes together, you want to go back and fight? And you said, yes. In fact, they had to stop people. They got so many people that wanted to join them. They thought, if we're not careful, someone will find out what our plans are. And those are not figurative people in my community. This isn't like when 1776, when George Washington was like crossing the Delaware. This is my reality. And my heroes are right here. I can touch them. I can see them. I can see their grandchildren right back there. And I'm telling you, if you are Cuban, you have an exhaustion, right, from waiting. You all have got to wonder, when is it finally going to happen, right? There's a song that says, Ya viene llegando. And I say, as an American kid of Cuban parents, when? When is it coming? I'm tired. I'm tired of showing up on the corner of Emmanuel Jarrecate corner and waving a flag. And you know what? Sometimes I don't show up because I don't have it in me. But you know who always showed up? These men. And when we called them, they showed up. And that's when it mattered. It wasn't flag waving. They went to go risk their lives. It wasn't flag waving and just words. They went to put it all on the line, and they paid the ultimate price. We abandoned them. The United States abandoned them on the field of battle, and they paid the price. My brother right here, Mr. Pisano, 18 years in a jail because his thoughts and his heart did not agree with his government. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come celebrate things like the Bay of Pigs, we're not talking about just, hey, it's a thing that happened in history. It's part of the fabric of who we are. This flag, signed by that man, hangs in my office in Tallahassee. You can get rid of everything. If I only had one thing to put up, that flag follows me everywhere I am. Because it's the living embodiment of everything we represent. It is a perfect meld. Like, imagine the incredible, how American is it that after America abandons you on the battlefield, they say, hey, we're really sorry. Will you help fight for us? Will you join our military? And what does the Cuban say? Okay, man. And they did. And they go off to foreign lands and they fight under a flag that once told them they weren't good enough to back up. That is the spirit, because freedom, like the lieutenant governor says, knows no politics. It's left and right, it's Democrat, it's Republican, but ultimately it's heart and soul. And this is a living embodiment. So when I want to say I'm sorry for sometimes giving up when you didn't give up. I apologize for not being the leader that I think you are. And I apologize to the young men back there, because as we realize the importance of this fight, we can't give up. It's generation 2, this young man fixing his knee brace, the son, the progeny of that Cuban spirit. It's worth fighting for. You're worth fighting for. Everything you gave for us is worth fighting for. I want to tell you that I love you more than you have any clue, the two of you. You are more than heroes. You're examples for us to lead. And although we may fall short, it's worth climbing towards every single time. So I love you. Thank you for letting me be here. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Florida.
Thank you very much for that, Representative Alvarez. Next, we have a very special person coming forward with our Florida Department of Veterans Affairs. Colonel DJ Reyes has a very special relationship with Colonel Orlando Rodriguez. Colonel Reyes, before he became our Assistant Deputy Executive Director of the Florida Department, I always mess that up, I know he's laughing, right? I've known Colonel Reyes for like 15 years or so, and I've seen him come home from over 30 years of service. Like I was joking with somebody, over 3 decades of getting shot out of a cannon into a pool of great white sharks for our country, right? And to come back here in service. And now what he's doing in Tallahassee just makes us all so proud. So come forward, Colonel Reyes.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a great Army Day because I see all the leadership around me, so second thing is, great speeches, very inspirational. I'm not a speaker, but I only have one thing to say and one duty that I want to perform today for Colonel Rodriguez. And that is, I just want to share a very, very personal story. And it really explains why I'm standing here today and why Colonel Rodriguez continues today to be my mentor and my source of inspiration. So the year was 2018, and many of you know I have triplets. And one of my triplets, it was during Hispanic Heritage Month. And my daughter came up to me and she said, Dad, what do I write on? I gotta, do I have to research? All my friends are getting on Google. And the first thing that came to my mind was, you don't have to go anywhere. You have living history. And I'm gonna introduce you to a gentleman, and hopefully he's willing to speak with you. And of course he was. And so I believe we met in La Torcita restaurant. We just sat down, and I got pictures of it. I was looking at it earlier today. I was looking at it and reminding myself of it. And I gotta tell you, just looking at those pictures this morning brought a tear to my eyes. What you shared with my daughter and me and my wife sitting there listening to you, it's better than reading any book because you are the Bay of Pigs. You lived it, you experienced it. And my daughter is a better citizen and a better human being for it. In fact, I talked to her about it early this morning. She's now 19, and I just spoke to her because she knows that I'm here, that I'm going to see you again, Orlando. So I just wanted to share that with you because not only is this a special commemoration, a special day today, honoring all of our men who fought so valiantly for democracy, but we're very, very blessed and fortunate to have living history with us here today. And so I'm honored and privileged and very humbled to present on behalf of the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs a medal to you, Colonel Rodriguez, if you would please come up here, please. Please, good. Let's do it. On behalf of the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, our 1.4 million veterans, many of whom are Vietnam War veterans. Congratulations, job well done. Thank you for fighting for us, sir. Cool.
And next, we're gonna hear, at least request, if the family of Luis Campuzano wants to come and say some brief remarks, we'd love that. Before we do this, though, I also wanted to, I brought with me, oh dear, where did it go? Where does the flag go to that from? Oh,
Yeah. Which one, the flag that was on top of the table, sir?
the Bay of Pigs flag.
It's
Brigade
right
flag.
behind you. Table, behind you.
Is this?
No.
The one right here.
The big one.
Yeah, we can't put it up.
Oh, okay, well, oh, what do you know, here, let me take this. So, I wanted to present this to, we have Zoe Batista who's here. And she operates with her brother a Hispanic, Heritage Museum in Jefferson High School, which anybody that knows anything about Tampa history, Jefferson High School is one of those Latino high schools. My late father, went there for about 6 months after he came here from Cuba, along with his brother, who I was just with this past week in New Orleans, in fact, for a little bit of time before they went to Miami. But I toured that high school Hispanic Heritage Museum. They have many great things. But I told Zoe, who's a Cuban exile, a Cuban refugee, that I was gonna get them this flag because young people need to know a lot of things, but they gotta know 2506. So let's give this, if I may, to Zoe. We're gonna give this to you, madam. And, here you go. There you go. Good, thank you. Oh, sorry. I'm a very stupid smart. There you go. There you go.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm gonna try to be brief because I know that there are some other people that need to talk. To speak of Nuestra America Foundation is to advocate for wisdom, free thought, and creativity. Democracy will always be at risk if citizens lack of a broad culture or understanding, one capable of recognizing respect of other cultures as the defining essence of the human spirit. When my family decided to establish this foundation and subsequently the Museum of Universal Art, we lacked even the most basic resources. We were a family of immigrants, many of whom turned their back on us. Yet, despite this, we persevere, fully aware, thanks to our own family history, of the vital importance of this endeavor for the city of Tampa. It is an honor of our institution to receive and exhibit the replica of the Bay of Pigs flag, a symbol of the greatness of the historic Cuban exile. This privilege compels me to reflect upon the heroes who took part in this struggle for liberation, striving to avert the subsequent suffering of Cuba, a suffering that has persisted and intensified for over 60 years. I think of my mother and all that she endured during her many years in Cuba. She was a young, newlywed in January 1959, with a baby girl just a few months old, when she received the news that the revolutionary government had seized her business and that her husband, having stood up to the militiamen had been sent to Boniato prison. From that moment on, my mother, now 95 years old, conspired against communism. As intellectual dissidents, they would gather at the Hotel St. John in Havana. Later, that group was forced to flee by boat, but she, with her small child, was unable to join them. For this reason, the historical event of the Bay of Pigs holds deep personal significance for me. For the Bay of Pigs, who have been the cure for the unending suffering that the Cuban people has endured and continue to endure. On behalf of Nuestra America Foundation and the Museum of Universal Art, we wish to express our gratitude to Councilman Luis Vieira for presenting us with a replica of the flag that accompanied the Cuban heroes to sacrifice or risk their lives in an attempt to liberate Cuba from the Castro dictatorship. Our museum will proudly display the banner, paying tribute to Exilio Histórico, the historic exile. It is a generation that, through its action, honored the nobility of this great nation, the United States of America, the only country that, over 6 decades, has supported Cuban cause for freedom. We, as a museum and documentation community center, bear the responsibility of exposing the cruel reality of communism, so that it may never be repeated, making this flag as a symbol that shall guide us, like a beacon in the struggle for democracy and justice through the Americas. To the pride of those brave warriors, the standard bearers of the Bay of Pigs, Cuba may well be on the verge of its liberation. When this entire nightmare comes to the end and the island is free, our museum will continue to share this patriotic history as a symbol of the fight for freedom and democracy across our continent. Eternal glory to those who fell at the Bay of Pigs. Eternal gratitude and honor to these veterans. Our thanks to the Councilman Luis Vieira. May God bless the Cuban people during the very difficult time they are going through. May God bless America.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Batista. Now we'd like to welcome, if we may, the family of the late Luis Campuzano to come forward. If you guys want to say some brief remarks on Luis. Luis was a very special soul, and we all remember him and honor him and miss him, so come forward.
Hello, my name is Maria Loader. I'm not only here for my father, Luis Campuzano, my uncle Manolo, and a cousin Ramon. They were all part of the Brigada. This day for our family, and I'm sorry, I'll get a little teary-eyed. My mother passed away in January, so they're together now, and today would have been an absolutely just wonderful day for my family, as it is all my grandchildren, my children, my son-in-laws, cousins. They know the story. They're going to carry this story. I will make sure that till the last breath I have. In fact, I went to the school not too long ago, and I asked the principal, I said, what are you teaching about communism? I want my kids, my grandkids, they need to know. They need to hear Bay of Pigs. They need to know what happened, and there's not many left now. So few of our men have passed on in their 80s. But it's up to us to keep the story going. So not too long ago, I was going through a few things that after my mother passed away, and she said to me, she had shown me a bullet and some casing, and she said, remember, this was when your father came back from the Bahia de Girón, so I am making a visit to the museum in Miami, and I am going to take this huge artillery that my father brought back from the Bay of Pigs and put it with his pants. There's some pants there that had oil on them that he left there, but I found this just among all her things, and then I remembered what she told me, that my father somehow brought this back. I want to thank Luis Vieira for always remembering. It means a lot to our family that this is a day, and, you know, we can see Pisano, Orlando, we can, you know, gather here and hear their stories again and honor you for what you have done for our Cuban people. Thank you very much.
May I ask you for your role, please? That's Luis Campuzano's photograph there, correct?
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about that story, please?
Yes, this story, my parents, when they came over from Cuba, they went to New York, Miami, and then they got married in Wichita, Kansas. So when all my family from Cuba immigrated, they settled in Wichita, Kansas. So when he came back from the Bay of Pigs, they wrote a little story there, and they just told of the struggle of getting here. My grandfather was a doctor in Cuba and had started at the tuberculosis hospital, but unfortunately, when he came to the United States, he wasn't able to transfer his degree. So he did work at St. Francis Hospital, and they, you know, did the best they could as immigrants. But my father, you know, when you talk about in our house, I mean, there wasn't a day, a year, a month that I didn't hear Brigada 2506. I just knew it. So, yeah, we'll carry this on, and every year after, and when I'm no longer here, those children back there are gonna be here.
Yeah, and that's important.
I've been in front of his house for more years than I can remember, so it's tattered, it's very thin, but this was his pride and joy.
Thank you. God bless you. Dios te bendiga. And serve you. Next, we're gonna have our final speaker, and to honor Colonel Orlando Rodriguez. And I want to make this clear, by the way, every person in this room could stand up here for a long time and talk about this great man. But I don't think anybody is more uniquely qualified to talk about this man than a person who I love dearly, who is like family to me. Let's welcome up here, Mr. Roberto Pisano, hablar del amigo de él, Colonel Orlando Rodriguez. Si tú quieres hablar, Señor, tú puedes. Si tú quieres hablar. Si tú quieres. Yo sé que-
Buenos días a todos.
Buenos días.
No es fácil para mí venir a hablar de un acaparador de medallas. Todas las medallas que tiene los Estados Unidos las tiene el caballero Orlando Rodríguez. Pero bueno, primero quiero saludar a mi hermano Jay, aquel otro muchachito. Mi alcalde de siempre, que va a ser el futuro también. A la familia Campuzano, porque Luis, aparte de haber sido un gran amigo mío, fue un compañero inigualable, tanto en la lucha como en la prisión, como en los campamentos. Orlando, tendríamos que hablar mucho rato y me dieron muy poco tiempo para poder hablar de la historia de este señor. Con decirle que Orlando, siendo coronel del ejército y propuesto ya para general de brigada, perdió todos esos valores por reunirse con nosotros en la lucha de Cuba, en el Salón de Prensa Internacional en Washington. Los coroneles fueron ahí vestidos coroneles y apoyaron a nosotros y les costó, pero los retiraron a todos. Esta es una de las historias que no conoce la gente de Orlando. Pero bueno, Orlando tiene una trayectoria en defensa de la libertad y la democracia que todos debemos agradecer y tener presente siempre. Que hombres como usted son gloria para nosotros. Me siento tan pequeño, de verdad, hablando de esta gente que no no puedo continuar, pero bueno, les transmito un abrazo a todos ustedes en nombre de la causa de la libertad de Cuba, que aunque dice Dani que no, yo creo que sí, que está próximo en este momento, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yo creo que pues, por fin el pueblo de Cuba va a ser libre y entonces no va a quedar en el olvido todo esto que hicieron Orlando, Luis y el resto de los que fueron a la Brigada 2506 a tratar de salvarnos a nosotros que estábamos alzados en las montañas de Cuba. Orlando, gracias por ti, por todo lo que has hecho. Gracias a los que están, a mis amigos presentes aquí, no importa dónde están, todos mis amigos, mis hermanos.
Roberto was one of those that I just love dearly, we all love him and honor him. ¿Y cuántos años tú tienes, jefe? 86?
35.
Yo, 2 para 90.
He's 88. This guy is 88 years old. I mean, just look at him. The guy's got more hair than the 30s. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure. I want to introduce, to be honored here today, to come speak before us, a man who is one of our great Cuban American heroes, a man who is one of our great American heroes. He is a hero from Vietnam, the Vietnam War, where he got the Purple Heart and decorated after coming home from, not coming home, coming to his new home. After the Bay of Pigs, he would sign up to fight the communists in Vietnam. After being a hero of the Bay of Pigs, he is our hero. If I sing more, I'm going to start crying. He is our American hero, our Cuban American hero, Colonel Orlando Rodriguez. Come forward.
I am very glad to be here today with all of you. And for me, this is flag and this flag are my life since I came from Cuba. Today, and this is what I'm going to say very brief. We gather here to remember the courage, sacrifice, and love for freedom shown by the men of Brigade 2506 on April 17, 1961. We were young Cubans driven by the hope of returning to a free homeland. At the Bay of Pigs, we fought with honor, conviction, and the dream of liberating Cuba from dictatorship. Also, we did want to succeed militarily. The spirit of our cause never died. We honor those who gave their life, those who suffer captivity, and all who carry the pain of exile with dignity. Their bravery remains a symbol of patriotism, courage, and the unbreakable desire for liberty. Today, more than ever, we remember that the struggle for a free Cuba lives on our hearts and in future generations. God bless the memory of the member of the Brigade 2506, and God bless the future of our free Cuba. Thank you very much to all of you.
As our final speaker, Mr. Luis Lorquanto with Senator Rick Stein. Oh, of course, Rick. Yeah.
Muy buenos días a todos y voy a ser bien breve. La carta está escrita en español, así que if that's okay with everyone, the letter is written in Spanish, so I'll just go ahead and read it like that. If that's okay. Queridos amigos, en nombre de todos los floridanos, es un honor para mí reconocer el 65 aniversario de la invasión de Bahía de Cochinos. Hoy honramos y reconocemos a la Brigada 2506 y a las valientes personas que sacrificaron sus vidas enfrentándose al régimen despiadado de Castro y luchando por la libertad y la democracia en Cuba. Este día sirve como recordatorio de la opresión y las atrocidades de derechos humanos cometidas por la dictadura cubana ilegítima y de nuestra continua lucha por la libertad y la democracia. Estados Unidos siempre estará del lado de la libertad y en contra de regímenes opresores y dictaduras que niegan a su pueblo derechos y libertades básicos. Como su senador de los Estados Unidos, me enorgullece trabajar con el presidente, el secretario de Estado, junto a la comunidad cubana de Florida, para abogar por un nuevo día de libertad y democracia en Cuba y América Latina, y para responsabilizar a todos los miembros del ilegítimo régimen comunista cubano por sus horribles crímenes. Me enorgullece representar a las familias de Florida y nunca dejaré de luchar para proteger nuestra libertad y ayudar a traer un nuevo día de libertad y democracia a Cuba y a toda América Latina. De nuevo, agradezco a la Brigada 2506 su increíble dedicación y servicio a nuestra nación y os deseo lo mejor por un evento maravilloso. Atentamente, Rick Stein, senador de los Estados Unidos.
So is our last very brief speaker, Rafael Pizzon. Come forward. Give him a round.
Good morning, I'll be brief. When it comes to the veteran community, obviously we have from elected official to friends and family, Vietnam veterans, like Colonel Jim Fletcher, which has been a big inspiration to me, in addition to the Brigade 2506. I had the opportunity to go to the courthouse and view veterans that were being assisted. And that program was led by the BTC Veterans Treatment Court by retired Colonel DJ Reyes. There were some words that were shared by a judge, Shanti, correct? Did I pronounce it right? Judge Shanti, an amazing judge and patriot who helps our veterans here in Hillsborough County. When he stood up there, that judge shared some words that have stuck in my heart within the chambers of my being. He said during a difficult and dark chapter in his life serving in the service, he traveled on leave and went to Normandy. He was looking for inspiration. And he said during his dark chapters, he would walk during certain memorial places, and he was looking at the different tributes to veterans during World War II. He said something stuck out. Those words always he's carried. There was a plaque where they asked the veterans to leave a message for future generations. And those young men that sacrificed their lives in World War II, one of the most horrific wars on earth, those veterans left a message for us to pass that torch to us. Judge Shanti said that they said, for all their sacrifices, for their youth, and all the young men and women that were lost, he said what stuck with him was that they said, don't forget about us. So any veteran of any theater, any era in the world, there's something that bonds us. That sacrifice, that you may lose your life, you may never see your family again, you do it so others can live and have their freedom and liberty. So for those young men to leave such a profound message, don't forget about us. That's what they did. When I see the sacrifices of the Brigade 2506, Luis Campuzano, who's not here with us today, but his family's here. They carry that torch. We can't forget about our veterans. And even as the Brigade 2506, they fought for freedom, democracy. And while they're not here, we will continue that. The example of, I won't say his age again, but my father, but we continue. Colonel Orlando continues to do that. And we all do it just by remembering. We're all doing our part by remembering not to forget about them. It takes conscientious eyes, and that's what we're doing. So I would like to ask briefly a positive moment of silence of a few seconds for all veterans, and today, Luis Campuzano and the brigade members who have passed. No honorable sacrifice is forgotten. May we carry them in our hearts. May God bless them. And may freedom reign forever. Thank you.
There's a lot of people I'd love to have come here and speak, but unfortunately, we just can't for purposes of time.
But you're
Right.
mayor.
Oh, I asked twice, right? Twice.
He doesn't have a choice. He has
It's funny, I first met Bob Buckhorn, he doesn't remember this, when I was 18 years old at USF. I'll never forget that, he's, God bless him. So again, guys, we appreciate everybody who came here today, guys. And again, let's, and hang out here, let's turn 315 East Kennedy into, Guy Ocho, and have a good time. And again, and thank you guys very much, everybody, Colonel Rodriguez, thank you, sir, for coming, the family of Luis Campuzano, thank you for coming, Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins, we appreciate you, sir, State Rep Danny Alvarez, former Mayor Bob Buckhorn, everybody, the office of Congresswoman Castor, Senator Scott, everybody for coming, thank you guys, and God bless you. Go to the